It's been a long time since last I recorded a video. In fact, I've finished page 2, made the entirety of page 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 and uploaded them to the website since the last video. So, here's page 2 in its finished state. When last it was viewed, it was in an intermediate stage, kind of still figuring some things out. The colors I wanted to be a bit like so matching the previous page, but the ghastly pink I snatched from a webcomic called Lovesick, which is a deep space medical punk or something. It's really weird and really nice. So I went a bit more rash with the colors. You can see lots of rendering has been done. I decided to go with a more silhouette look for this page, but still keeping the bubbles quite clear. And putting in the car here for continuity, because it would annoy me if the car was there on one panel and suddenly wasn't there in another. And the tree that you see in front of the house is here as well. For the different panels, I have had to use a little bit of help. For example, this one, I got my sweet boyfriend to pose for me, because some of these things were just very difficult to get right drawing. So reference photos galore. And this one for the hand, I did enlarge the hand a couple of times. I had a bit of trouble finding out how exactly I wanted it to be, because there is a great deal of foreshortening going on in this panel. So I again took some photos just to figure out how big would the hand actually be and how much can I toy with it without it looking really stupid. I still think the handle is a bit too big, but there's really not much I can or want to do about it at this stage in time. So it's acceptable as it is. And for the car, I had my old reference image for the car in, and there was one more. This one here for the frightened look in his face on this bottom panel and the way the hands were held. It wasn't that easy, so I did take that photo just to correct that. It's a little bit rough in the line work. Kind of, maybe I should have cleaned that up, but I think it's okay. Also added this scrawling, "Oh God, please Marie, please David, please be home, tell me I'm hallucinating." Just his desperate thoughts upon entering this weird house. They're meant to be a bit scrawled, they're not really meant to be that legible, but if you can read them, that's a bit of a bonus of the mood of the story. Bit of random splatter on this one, but also trying to get the impact, to heighten the impact. So you have the alarm red color here, he goes, "What?" And here you have the contrast between the red and the green, "What the fuck?" So what is going on here? He has no idea what's going on here, but he has to go and have a look. So that's page 2, sorry, page 2 done. I did consider doing a different version of this panel with a different background color, but I ended up with this one. But yeah, on to page 3. So page 3, let's scroll back a bit. This is the finished state of page 3, where he looks at his hand and his hand is normal again. He's thinking about his wife and child, reaches into his pocket, tries to call her, but it gets the message that the number doesn't exist, and he doesn't understand this, so well, tries to call her work, she's not there, tries to call one of her friends, she's not there, tries to call different people more and more tangibly connected to her, and getting more and more frustrated and desperate because nobody has seen her, and his child wasn't in kindergarten that day, they've just disappeared off the face of the earth and nobody has seen her. It's a very discouraging panel, and I wanted it to be a bit like a collage in a way, so you cut in different things. It doesn't have to be that coherent as you see, there's actually no backgrounds, no realistic backgrounds in this page. You can't really see where he's standing, but you don't need to. I just need to tell the story. And but yeah, so this is the underlying sketch layer, where I just sketched out pretty quickly what I wanted. You have like the outline of the pocket, his face. A couple of these I've edited and deleted and changed, and swapped over the layers. I really should have changed an earlier version, I guess. But as it moves along, I refine the text. Actually, that's one of the last things to happen. Refining the line art. So just like forgetting about that other layer, changing that over, because even though the other one I liked it better, it was just really hard to actually make it seem natural and make it seem like it just didn't work out. So I turned him around and made him different, because that's what you do. And the arm, I made sure not to cross over into the no, actually I think it's a mask. I'm having a mask here. Disable, please. Yes. Yeah, just to make sure that bit doesn't go over the text and stuff. So layer masks, very useful. And so yeah, refining the line work. And I didn't need as many reference pictures for this page as for the previous page, because it didn't have as many things that were really difficult in it. I did take I think I did take a photo of a hand to be like this, but it didn't help much. I ended up just having to draw it anyway, because I mean, without much use of the photo, because it just didn't seem right with the reference photo drawn hand. I took a photo of my thumb for this. Just had a really good look at my thumb of these, but the rest of this is pretty much yes, I did have to take a reference for the hand holding the phone, to see how the hand would actually hold the phone. This reference image I obviously haven't dropped into the file of the thing, so I won't be able to show it to you. But it was apart from that, this page was one of the easier pages. It was quite straightforward compared to page 2. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. About the typefaces, I made sure that these ones all have different types, different fonts, because he's talking to different people, so they'll have different fonts to imply different personalities that he's talking to on these ones as well. So he talks to a bunch of different people with different voices, and I wanted it to be reflected in the fonts. And this one is just a robotic. This dee-dee-dee. The number you have called does not exist. It's I think it's a Korean new. It's very coarse, but I wanted it to be robotic and electronic and not natural, not like it's a person he was talking to, which it isn't in this one. So yeah, that's page 3. And on to page 4. This is the finished version of page 4. He's run out of people to call. He doesn't know what to do anymore. He's just sitting there, pretty much. Yeah, he's kind of grasping at straws here, thinking of calling the police or the emergency services, and thinks, fuck, what do I tell them? What do you say to a fireman if, you know, hey, hello, my house is dissolving into soap bubbles? He is convinced that nobody will believe him, so he's just in anger. He chucks his phone at the house and it ripples, and just miserably lays down in the grass. Just miserably lays down in the grass, and eventually he falls asleep. You have this is meant to convey time passing. It's getting dark, it's becoming becoming night, and the red is for his anger and sadness, the blue for his utter desperation and hopelessness. So you have the change from blue to yellow to red, and these coarse texturey things. That's made from my custom brush. No, this one. That just to give it a bit of a raw edge. And I made sure to darken this panel as well, as it is getting darker. We're at sunset. This is when things are happening at sunset. Oh. For a long time I wasn't really sure what to do with the middle panel. I just wanted it to be an expression of his frustration. For a long time I thought this was going to be something like this, where he grabs his face and he's just screaming in anger. I did a couple of other versions where he's just like screaming or in agony. But then I got the idea of him throwing the phone at the house, so I changed that and eventually cleaned up that line work as well and made the house ripple. But it actually went through quite a lot of different sketch iterations before I arrived at this. Let's see. Here's an earlier version of the page in which I have arrived at him throwing his phone at the page at the house, but it's just a very raw sketch at this point. And here we would have, I wanted a bubble to float up above him, so you get a little bit of distance to him, and maybe his phone could be inside the bubble from the house, and I thought that could be kind of a funny touch. And in the end I didn't do this. I saved it for later in the comic, and as you can see, still working on finding the line out here and there. But the overall layout of the page with this line here was there from very early on in the process. Let's see if I've got more layers. Yeah, this one, a layer for that. So it's all coming together slowly in this version of the file. But back to this. Yeah, I actually laid out a couple of values first. Started this one in black and white, which is strange. Strange compared to the process I went with the other pages. Is unlike it. But at the end it didn't really make much of a difference. I mean, it worked for this page, so I did that, and then I added the colors after. And here with the grass, I put in some different variation with the grass, but I have another layer on top of that to be grass like that with the brighter ones, just to give the sense we're looking down at him from above. So when you're looking at grass slightly from above or directly from above, this is what you'd see, or at least what you'd see in my vision anyway. It's probably not very accurate, but it does the job and conveys a bit of a dramatic center lines pointing towards him, as well as just being grass. So that is page 4. As you could see in the earlier version, he was standing up, and I eventually put him down on his knees because he was actually down on his knees here. So why would he suddenly be standing up in this panel? It's not like he's really moved about. So that had to change as well before I could finish this page. And I made sure that the windows were the same kind of shape as they were in the earlier page. I kept referring back to page 1, making sure that the house was somewhat true to the original house. But yeah, let's go on to page 5. Page 5, the sun is coming up. As you can see, the light has changed. The house, he's just laying there. He found himself in the garden, laying in front of the house, looks over his shoulder, realizes that the house is no longer bubbly, runs towards it and knocks on the door, says, "Maria, open up, I'm home." So this is a happy page of hope. And I put in gleam on the windows, but kept it a bit dark here, just to show that the sun is just coming up. You have some shadows from maybe the house across the road still covering a bit of the house. So the sun is just coming up, and you have the orange sky with still some purple left in the bottom. I really like the color scheme for this. I think that had turned out really well. So here's a very early version of the page where I've just sketched out looking over the shoulder. He scramble up. It says scramble up with a point to him, and just running is very basic at this stage. You've only got 5 layers going on here, just figuring out what's going to happen here. And for the house, to make sure that to make sure that the viewer would be looking a bit up at the house, you're looking at this guy who's underground. I put actually, this was kind of quickly constructed, but I was thinking of like a vanishing point somewhere up there,